What we know about the 6 co-conspirators mentioned in the 2020 election interference indictment, the historic indictment against Donald Trump in the special counsel's probe into January 6, 2021, and efforts to overturn the 2020 election, says that he enlisted co-conspirators to assist him in his criminal efforts. The charging documents repeatedly reference 6 of these co-conspirators, but as is common practice, their identities are withheld because they have not been charged with any crimes. CNN, however, can identify 5 of the 6 co-conspirators based on quotes in the indictment and other context. Co-conspirator 1 is former Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani. Among other things, the indictment quotes from a voicemail that co-conspirator 1 left for a United States senator on January 6, 2021. The quotes in the indictment match quotes from Giuliani's call intended for GOP Senator Tommy Tuberville, as reported by CNN and other outlets. Ted Goodman, a political advisor to Giuliani, said in a statement that the indictment eviscerates the First Amendment. Co-conspirator 2 is former Trump lawyer John Eastman. Among other things, the indictment says co-conspirator 2 circulated a 2-page memorandum with a plan for Vice President Mike Pence to overturn the 2020 election while presiding over the Electoral College certification on January 6, 2021. The indictment quotes from the memo, and those quotes match a 2-page memo that Eastman wrote, as reported and published by CNN. Eastman's attorney Charles Burnham said the indictment relies on a misleading presentation of the record, and that his client would decline a plea deal if offered one. Co-conspirator 3 is former Trump lawyer Sidney Powell. The indictment says co-conspirator 3 filed a lawsuit against the governor of Georgia on November 25, 2020, alleging massive election fraud, and that the lawsuit was dismissed on December 7, 2020. These dates and quotations match the federal lawsuit that Powell filed against Georgia Governor Brian Kemp. An attorney for Powell declined to comment. Co-conspirator 4 is former Justice Department official Jeffrey Clark. The indictment identifies co-conspirator 4 as a Justice Department official. The indictment also quotes an email that a top Justice Department official sent to Clark, rebutting Clark's attempts to use the department to overturn the election. The quotes in that email directly match quotes in an email sent to Clark, according to a Senate report about how Trump tried to weaponize the Justice Department in 2020. CNN has reached out to an attorney for Clark. Co-conspirator 5 is pro-Trump lawyer Kenneth Chesebro. Among other things, the indictment references an email memorandum that co-conspirator 5 sent to Giuliani on December 13, 2020, about the fake electors plot. The email sender, recipient, date, and content are a direct match for an email that Chesebro sent to Giuliani, according to a copy of the email made public by the House Select Committee that investigated January 6. CNN has reached out to an attorney for Chesebro. The identity of co-conspirator 6 is unclear. The indictment says they are a political consultant who helped implement a plan to submit fraudulent slates of presidential electors to obstruct the certification proceeding. The indictment also further ties this person to the fake elector slate in Pennsylvania. Biden tells CNN he won't be following Trump's arraignment. Today, President Joe Biden will not follow the arraignment of former President Donald Trump Thursday, he told CNN. The president made the comment during a bike ride in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where he is currently on vacation. A cycling Biden responded with an emphatic no when asked by CNN's Jay McMichael whether he will be following the arraignment. Moments later, he rode by pool reporters and declined to comment on Trump's indictment. Biden has refrained from commenting on his predecessor since the indictment was unveiled earlier this week. But for the current president, this indictment is the most personal. What began as an attempt to deny Biden the presidency is now headed to federal court, and the accountability Biden once said was necessary for the insurrection is moving ahead. The White House declined to comment on Trump's indictment Tuesday, referring questions to the Department of Justice. Hundreds of U.S. Capitol rioters have appeared in the federal courthouse where Trump will be arraigned today when former President Donald Trump appears in a Washington, D.C. courtroom on Thursday. He will be doing so in a building that had a direct view of the violence that unfurled at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. Trump is scheduled to appear before a magistrate judge on 4 criminal charges related to his efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Unlike the other indictments, however, this hearing will play out in the E. Barrett Prettyman Federal Courthouse that has been the central vehicle of accountability for the January 6th attack on democracy. More than 1,000 Trump supporters who participated in the Capitol breach have also gone through the motions of a first appearance hearing that the former president will go through himself. And day after day, the courthouse has been where judges, defendants, lawyers, witnesses, jurors and court officials have had to constantly revisit the significance of the assault on Congress and what drove it. It's a dynamic that has weighed on Judge Beryl Howell, who recently stepped down from her role as the D.C. District Court's chief judge, a position that put her in charge of deciding many of the privilege disputes that ultimately allowed federal prosecutors to access key evidence in Smith's case. Just outside this courthouse are visible reminders of the January 6th riot and assault on the Capitol, Howell said at a January 2021 sentencing of a rioter. During that proceeding, she stressed that the Capitol attack was not a peaceful protest, but rather, it was hundreds of people who came to Washington, D.C. to disrupt the peaceful transfer of power.